Welcome to my channel. My name is Lisa Allistway, and I create inspirational and informational videos you can use and apply to your life. Today's guest is Vinicius Magalhães, also known as Professor Draculino. He is a 6th degree black belt under Carlos Gracie Jr. and is the head instructor of Gracie Barra, Texas, and Gracie Barra BH schools. He holds many titles, including 4-time Pan American champion, 1-time no-gi Pan American champion in 2008, 2-time Brazilian national champion, 2-time silver medalist at the World BJJ Championships, and MMA lightweight champion in Brazil. With more than 30 years of teaching experience, Professor Draculino is considered one of the best instructors in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. His students include national and world BJJ champions, mixed martial arts champions, and more than 500 black belts. Welcome, Professor Draculino.
Thank you for having me, Liz. It's a pleasure. Good to see you again.
You too. So can we start all the way back? Let's rewind it to Brazil, where you're from. Can you tell us a little bit about that, where you grew up?
Oh yeah. I was born in Rio de Janeiro. And my mom and my dad are also from Rio de Janeiro. So basically, I have one brother and one sister. And it was, the best childhood and teenage years that I could ever have. Like Rio is like a beautiful. I don't know if you've been there before, but it's one of the most beautiful cities in the world. But at the same time, very wild, very crazy. Brazil is like a place that can be like a very volatile in a bunch of different things.
Mm-hmm.
So me growing up in there gave me something that I take for the rest of my life, or my professional life, or my relationships and everything, which is it gives you a little bit of in a good sense, a street smart aspect of the personality that you kind of get ahead of some other things. You already know what to expect in certain situations and from certain people, because it's so common in Brazil, all kinds of things, somebody always trying to take advantage out of you, or somebody tried to rob you, or somebody tried to beat you up. And so you get, that smartness that is very important in my life nowadays. I have the clear vision that was meant to be, so God put me in that place for me to have that upbringing. And then I can use the positive to translate to everything that I do in my life. So it was pretty much it. I used to do judo when I was really young. I started judo with 5 or 6 years old. And I always play soccer. Every Brazilian kid plays soccer and loves soccer. Soccer is #1 sport in Brazil. And after I started to surf. So surfing was my first sport, big passion. I was completely addicted to surfing. As a matter of fact, we moved houses. My family moved houses to live right in front of the beach in Rio, so I could surf pretty much every day that I wanted. And I went to jiu-jitsu. I started to train jiu-jitsu, not because of judo, but because of surfing. Because through the surfing circles, I got to know the Gracie family.
Mm-hmm.
They're pretty much my neighbors there. And then one thing led to the other. I still love surfing, but jiu-jitsu is pretty much my life, my lifestyle, and everything I do. So it's pretty much it. To summarize everything, it was about that.
How old were you when you first started jiu-jitsu?
I was 14.
14.
Yeah, I was a teenager already. I did, like I said, I was very active into surfing from 11 to 15. I used to do contests and all that. But I always studied too. I forgot to mention that. I never wasn't one of those guys that left school. Nothing against who didn't do school or got graduated. For me, it doesn't mean anything. But I actually finished my studies, and I have a law degree.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lawyer license also in Brazil, so still have it's still valid. And I did pretty much all of the sports things that I told you, plus I was always in school, which I think is also a very important thing to me as well. Very
Mhm.
important. It gives me other tools that some other people don't have, you know.
So how did you make the transition of living in Brazil, getting your law degree, and deciding, hey, I'm going to go to the United States, I'm going to go to Texas, and I'm going to be a Brazilian instructor, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu instructor?
Yes, Lisa, it wasn't easy because first of all, whenever I graduated in law, I had to decide if I was like doing the law career, the attorney career, or go to the legal career, or being a jiu-jitsu instructor. I think that doing both the way I was doing, it wouldn't work because I wouldn't focus enough in any of them and it wouldn't work. And of course, jiu-jitsu brought me more happiness, more peace of mind, more health. But it was the more uncertain way. Let's put it this way. So it was a tough decision because I left Rio in 1995 and I moved to the city that we were talking before, BH, called Belo Horizonte, because there was a bigger market there. And then Gracie Barra, my organization, was expanding. So my master, Carlos Gracie Jr, sent me there. And then I started to work there. And I lived there, Lisa, from 1995 to 2008. And I built, like I said, it was a very successful school with not just the tons of champions that came out of that school. They still come. I'm actually going there on June 15. I'm going normally 2 or 3 times a year there. But not just because of that, but even for Brazilian standards, it was really successful financially too. So, I mean, for jiu-jitsu, for the reality of jiu-jitsu of the time, it was really successful. And then my decision to come to the US was actually as hard as it was in deciding between the legal career and the jiu-jitsu career, because it's not moving cities within a country, which is different. It's moving completely your whole family to a different country, and then you have to do all the legal and the immigration procedures. And then when you get here, you don't have any document, nobody give you anything, you cannot even sign up for electricity, like, so things like that. So it was tough. I had like a good life in Brazil. I had my own apartment, my kids were in a private school, I had a good car. It was a good life. I was in a good life, but I felt I was a little bit stagnated. I was like, I wasn't going forward. I had that, the economy in Brazil is always a iffy, it's tough. So I wasn't going further. And I also thought that because I always taught seminars in the US since the year 2000 or 1999, I always saw the potential of Jiu-Jitsu here. I saw how big Jiu-Jitsu became in America with my own eyes, because back in 1999 and 2000s, it was like, honestly, probably like 50 times less than it is right now. Easily,
Yeah.
easily. And then I saw that every year that I came back to teach seminars, that the thing was growing. Like there were more students, more schools. People are talking about jiu-jitsu in magazines and sometimes on a TV show here and there. So I was like, man, like if we make it here in the US, it's going to explode for all over the world, because that's how it is. Like normally what happens in the US, everybody takes notice and then the thing exports all over the world. And sure enough, that's what happened. When I moved in 2008, jiu-jitsu was already getting, upwards. So I got here in the great time, and I was right. I was right because it was tough. Not gonna lie, it was
So
tough.
what,
Like,
so what were some of the challenges with opening your business here?
I mean, there were a lot of challenges. Like in the business part of it, when I got here, I didn't have like all the documents that I needed to do everything. I mean, I was legal. I was never illegal. I always did the immigration like by the book and through lawyers and everything. Like my lawyer got my visa called extraordinary ability that they give to certain people in certain areas that are like valuable to the country. So I got this visa. It's called O1.
Mhm.
So, but it took a while, you know, like how it is, like bureaucracy from government. So it took a while. So until I had this visa, you know, I couldn't have a social security. And without a social security, you cannot get a credit card. You can barely open a bank account. It's tough, you know. It's hard to rent an apartment. It's hard to do everything. I mean, pretty much you're like almost as an illegal, even though I wasn't. I never was, you
Mhm.
know. So the challenges were like pretty much like that. I could not, whenever I opened the school, I could not let the school be owned by me legally, and I always did everything by the book. So I had the you know him actually. I have like my great friend, and he works for me for 15 years now, Professor Brandon Mullins.
Mhm.
Professor Brandon Mullins were pivotal for us because he pretty much put everything in his name. And who does that? It's tough, and I don't blame anybody to do it like that. He knew me for a long time, but
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't know that maybe I go crazy or I get in a divorce or something, and I leave back to Brazil and leave him with all the troubles, you know.
Yeah.
So he helped me with the paperwork, and then like whenever I got my proper visa and the documents, I could get the documents. So then like it was night and day. You know,
Yeah.
it was true. Yeah, it was night and day. And that was probably the toughest part of in the business sense. It was that the difficulties of me being able to do trivial stuff. I would explain this to some of the new students that we had, and they couldn't understand. They said like, but how they don't give you this? They said, because I'm not an American. I'm not an American citizen, and I'm depending on my visa to come out. And then my lawyer, I had a good lawyer, like a guy from California, and my lawyer was constantly telling me that the government was taking a long time because everything was backlogged. And
Mhm.
I got actually anxiety because of that, because I was like, man, like I started to think like, I don't know if I did the right thing, and it's just so stressful, whatever.
Yeah.
But it worked, so everything was
Yeah.
great. Now I'm an American citizen. My whole family is an American citizen.
Yeah.
Everything is great.
That's really interesting because people don't always know behind the scenes what's going on. They come into
Yeah,
the gym, they think this, that, and they don't understand maybe like the struggle that you made this.
yeah,
This didn't just happen.
yeah. I knew it wouldn't be easy, Lisa. I always knew it would be tough.
Mhm.
I'm not, like naive in this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
But it gets in a time that sometimes, like when you get like late at night and you get home, that is so tired, so stressed that you start to think other things, you know. So
Mhm.
and my wife in the beginning, she was having a little bit of a problem to adapt to culture,
Mhm.
which was like a little tough too. Now she loves the U.S. more than anybody that I know. She doesn't even go to she doesn't go to Brazil for like 6 years,
Oh, that's
because
interesting.
yeah, she loves it. But in the beginning it was tough. She didn't speak English, so it was tough.
Yeah. So I have a question. You were mentioning Brazil being a volatile place, and this is just an assumption. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Do people learn jujitsu down in Brazil because of survival needs, where maybe in the US, people learn it for entertainment?
Yes, yes, for entertainment, for a hobby. In Brazil, I would say that believe it or not, more people do it for the sport, for the peace of mind, and because like it's so big in Brazil that always know somebody that brings you there. But there is an aspect of, like you said, survival uh, in there in jiu-jitsu, but not so much in a sense of self-defense only, because I mean, jiu-jitsu is a great self-defense tool no matter what.
Hmm.
But a lot of times is for people's minds as well. People are in very tough situations, and jiu-jitsu is one of the best ways for you to have like clarity of mind. I mean, I've been doing this forever, as you know. And because of COVID, I couldn't train and I couldn't teach for a while. Our business got closed and everything. And honestly, Lisa, I was kind of losing my mind,
Hmm.
not losing my mind, but I mean, I was not myself. I
Yeah.
was not myself. I was like feeling incomplete and empty. I was feeling empty. I wasn't feeling like myself.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing in this world can bring me to the peace of mind and to the state that I want as jiu-jitsu. I did thousands of other sports, and I'm a pretty active guy, but jiu-jitsu gives me what I need to have peace of mind. And a lot of people in Brazil are the same way. A lot of people feel that their lives are empty, they're missing something, and then they join jiu-jitsu because of that.
So for the audience that aren't familiar with jiu-jitsu,
Yeah.
you kind of touched on a health benefit of it, that it brings you into the present moment. And I think that helps you
For
with your
sure.
life. It's not thinking about the past. It's not thinking about the future. You can almost get into a meditative state.
Yes.
And then you're also having a physical release because
Yeah.
it requires great physical exertion.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of health benefits that people may not realize that you get with jiu-jitsu. What else would you include?
Oh yeah, like you said it, you said great. I mean, all the endorphins that normally sports give you, but jiu-jitsu has the combat nature.
Yeah.
Even though it's a controlled environment, that when people get you in an armbar or a choke or a foot lock, you tap and they let go. So it's kind of like, okay, it's like a game. I gave up, good. You scored, good. That's it.
Mhm.
So that's this kind of trust and this controlled environment, which makes things better. But at the end of the day, it's combat. Like when you touch hands with somebody and start training with somebody, you try to I mean, in like I would say, like in a kind of like tough words, but you're trying to strangle each other, trying to break each other's arm, you're trying to break each other's leg, of course, in a controlled environment. So this element of combat gives you also, more than the peace of mind, confidence. I think like the most important tool for me, for a beginner that start to train jiu-jitsu, is acquiring confidence, because you are in a confrontational situation sometimes 10 times a day with different people,
Mm-hmm.
and they are different, they train different. Sometimes some people kick your butt and sometimes you kick the other person's butt. Sometimes it's like the draw or whatever.
Yeah.
So this gives you confidence in
Mhm.
all aspects of your life. I can clearly say to you, Lisa, that I am not afraid to go, for example, with a business meeting with like one of the most powerful guys in the world. I'm not going to be intimidated by him. I'm not going to be intimidated or bullied by somebody or someone in a different area, which is not martial arts. I'm not going to get bullied because I have the confidence in myself and the confidence of the combat confidence that I don't need to be worried about. I don't need to be oppressed.
Mhm.
And it's not arrogance or not being cocky or anything. It's just because you have a real confidence on
Yeah.
yourself. And this, I carry this for the rest of my life. I apply all this in all areas of my life.
Yeah.
Of course, on the positive way. Like I just want you guys to understand that everything to extreme is bad. Anything in life. So
Mhm.
with with like common sense.
Yeah.
But that confidence, I would say, maybe number one, Lisa. Number
Yeah.
one among all the benefits, confidence for
Yeah.
sure.
So I did jujitsu for about a year,
Yeah.
and
And you're doing great. I remember
oh,
you did
thank
great.
you.
You're tough. Training, you're training constantly too. You're not
Yeah.
like one of those people that go once and never comes back and come back again. You're
And
training
and I
constantly.
and I noticed that some of the things that were required of me for doing it was discipline, because you
Yeah,
have to show up. I mean, your body has to get conditioned, and it
exactly.
also, you have to have bravery to step on that mat every
Yeah,
day. You
definitely.
it really tests you.
Yeah.
You're challenged. You're doing team sportsmanship. There's so many things that can be learned in jiu-jitsu, and so many health benefits besides increasing your physical fitness, obviously. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of mental stuff that you get in that one class.
100%. You said it all. It's not easy. I'm not going to say it's easy.
Mm.
to go in an environment like that, especially because if you didn't have any previous experience of another martial art, or maybe sometimes, like I said, that street smartness that I had, it's tough for a regular person to go there. And you look, there's a bunch of like really tough people,
Mhm.
dozens of them, and we have to jump on that Shark Tank,
Yes.
you know. But once you do it, you can attest that, Lisa.
Yes,
Once you do it and you finish the class, you feel way better than before the class.
for
Every single
sure.
time,
For
right?
sure. So I noticed jujitsu attracts all kinds of people for all different kinds of reasons.
Yeah.
For example, you have a youth program that it can help kids that are being bullied so that they can get that self-confidence that you talked about, and
Uh-huh.
maybe that self-discipline that they might need. What are some other people that get attracted to jiu-jitsu and why?
Well, there's like people from all walks of life. Like there's like the wannabe fighter, MMA champion. The
Yes,
most of the time when they go, they leave because they think they're tough and they think they know something, and they face the reality,
they get
and like,
humbled,
yeah, they get humbled. But some people cannot take it. They
right?
cannot, they prefer to live in a fantasy land, that they are tough, that they know. But once they get when they face reality, they see it's not like that. But some people can take it. That's some of these people still. Of course, the kids, they go for fitness, for defending, for self defense. Some people are being oppressed. Some kids are being oppressed, like you said. So bullying is a problem, and they want to stand up for themselves.
You have
We've
police
been having a
officers,
yes. Say it
police
again.
officers.
Police officers that have tons, they go to be better in a hand-to-hand combat, which is like something very useful for their profession. There's all kinds of people, Lisa, but I my favorite kind, I'll tell you, my favorite kind of people that shows up brand new to try jiu-jitsu is the person who's struggling with confidence. We talk about confidence again. We have students during all my career in Brazil and here and all over the world that literally, Lisa, they couldn't even, I didn't even hear their voice because I couldn't even, because they didn't talk.
Wow.
You say, hey, Joe, how you doing?
Mm,
Everything okay? You need something? Like that. And, and you see, like, even their body, like, they
mm,
have all that shyness, they have all that insecurity. They are like not comfortable in between people,
mhm,
for different reasons. And these people, they change.
mhm.
How many people like cross my path that are different people now? They even they walk different. They are confident in themselves. They're not cocky or arrogant.
Yeah,
They're just confident,
yeah,
and this is for me the most important thing, because living in fear and living oppressed is the worst thing in the world for me. It's
yeah.
not even worth it. You know what I mean? So you have to try to find a way to improve your life. And I think like confidence is one of the most important things. A lot of people neglect that, but changes our life
It's
100%.
it's so cool to see people make that transformation
Yes,
from what you were
yes.
saying, being shy, and all of a sudden a year later they're a different person.
Exactly. So this is for me like the my favorite kind of students when they show up. I
Mhm.
love like to be able to contribute a little bit for a better life for these persons.
Yeah.
So,
So I know jujitsu is primarily male population and a younger population, but you do have more females getting interested and older populations, people in their 50s, 60s, 70s doing jujitsu.
mhm.
Can you speak on that a little bit?
Yes. Yeah, there is more male. There are more males training. Yes, but if you compare the number of girls nowadays, Lisa, from my time when I first started, it,
Yeah.
sometimes I sit down and I look at my class and we have like 20 girls in one class.
Yeah.
20. That would be like unimaginable back in the
Mhm.
80s when I first started. I
Right.
mean, it was just a couple girls.
Yeah.
And so the girls, I'm talking about adults, okay? The adults, adult women, they 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 are like growing like exponentially for jiu-jitsu, which is great. Believe it or not, Lisa, for the kids, jiu-jitsu, it's almost 50-50 for,
Really?
yes, which
That's
is great.
interesting.
Yeah, it's almost 50-50. And it wasn't, but during I'm here for a little over 13 years, and I saw this happening. I saw little by little, progressively. Nowadays, there are classes, especially the little ones. There are
Mhm.
more girls than boys in a class.
Wow.
Yes,
That is interesting.
yes. You know,
And what's the oldest person you've trained?
the older person I trained. I mean, I still have a student in Brazil. His name is Luis, and he's 76.
Wow.
And but it's it's not just that he trains. He
Hmm.
competes in his age division and weight division, and he was the number 2 ranked in the world in his division. It
Wow.
was a very we call him old man, of course. You know, value. Say we call him old man.
Has he been doing jujitsu a long time, or did he
He's
start
he
later in life?
started to train jujitsu when he was 55. So he's
Oh,
been training for 20 years. He started with 55.
oh,
A
that's
lot of
fantastic.
people with 55, they're already like, oh, I'm done. I don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
He's been doing jujitsu for 20 years, around 20 years now.
Wow. What an inspiration that it's never too late. You can start at any age. Don't let that
Any
be a
age, you know, it's like you said, it all comes down to discipline. You know, it's
yeah.
not going to be every day that you're going to feel like training. It's
Right.
nothing in life is like that. You know, sometimes you don't feel like working out. Sometimes you don't feel like even watch a movie. You don't feel like it. You
Yeah.
just want to do something different.
Hmm.
But if you know this thing is important to you, discipline is worth it because you know it's going to be better after all.
Yeah. So the year that I did jujitsu, I will admit I was probably in the best shape of my life. And that's me starting in my early 40s. But I was also in the most busted up shape in my life. I had several injuries in that year. So it was a weird feeling to feel
Yeah,
so in shape. But I had, just from my year of doing it, I had a bruised rib.
yeah,
I had torqued my knee. I'd sprained my ankle.
I
I
remember that.
couldn't close my hand because it was like this from grabbing the gi.
Yeah,
I had a turf toe, or I broke my big toe. I mean, so I was busted up, but I was in phenomenal shape that year.
yeah.
It
I
was a
mean,
weird feeling.
you touch on a good subject. You know, like whoever says that combat sports are a walk in the park, they're lying. Only if you're doing like aerobics, like not touching anybody. Otherwise, combat sports have an imminent risk of injuries. But like you said several injuries that you had, nothing too serious, thank God.
Mhm.
You know, so I think like uh, for me, right, my opinion, I prefer to have these little things that you have, and I had like all of them and more.
Yeah.
I rather have all of them
Yeah.
than have a poor health of not doing anything. You know, like having like a high blood pressure, having like obesity problems, having depression.
Mhm.
People who train jujitsu like regularly in a constant way, they don't have this kind of things. Believe it or not, I mean, they don't have like even they say, oh, depression is something that can get anybody. I know that. I mean, I had this
Yeah.
in my family, but through jujitsu, I've seen depressed people make it their function. You know, they work it out, they make it happen.
Mhm.
And yeah, you can have one thing here and there, but I mean, for me to be in shape, clear conscience, full of confidence,
Yeah.
I'll take it all day.
Yeah. There was a student at your school that's very inspirational. He doesn't have legs and he
Yeah,
shows up. I mean, so if your leg is sprained, your ankle's torqued, I mean, this guy has no legs and he's doing jujitsu.
yeah, I remember him, Johnny Boy. Yeah,
Yes.
he's a veteran from Iraq, and he was like the leader of his platoon. So when he entered a compound,
Mm.
blew up. And the crazy thing is that the legs were gone right there. Sometimes, you know, like they have to cut it off because he gets the legs were gone right there, but he doesn't remember anything. He just remember himself waking up in a hospital in Germany.
Mm.
So he woke up, he and he looked, he didn't have his legs. And this guy, you know, Lisa, you met him. This
Mhm.
guy is, besides being like the biggest inspiration for everybody from our school, he's an amazing guy.
Yeah. He's like
He
a purple
trains
belt.
every day, never complains about one thing. He is
Mhm.
always smiling. He never say no to anything.
Yeah.
You know, he's always in great spirits. That guy is amazing. You
Yeah.
know, it makes everybody think. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
and he
Perspective.
says it too. He says it like if he wasn't for jiu-jitsu, he doesn't know if he will be the same person
Mhm.
because he trains every single day. He's a brown belt now, and a
Yeah.
tough one. Let me tell you,
Yeah.
tough. He's very, very, very tough. I see him like submitting people pretty much every day. I'm not joking. Every single day. Tough people, big, strong guys,
Yeah.
you know?
He's on his way to get a black belt, isn't he?
Yeah, I would say he still have like maybe a little over a year to
Yep.
have the minimal time of the federation. But man, like me giving a black belt to him, that would be honestly like one of the highlights of my
Yeah.
life as a jiu-jitsu
Yeah.
instructor and professor. You
Yeah.
know, I can't wait. I can't wait. And I know it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen.
Yes. So I think it's important to touch on the injuries because that is a point of
Yeah.
contention with jujitsu, and you have to balance that and have to have good health care,
Yeah.
a good doctor, you know, but that's the risk you take. And sometimes you have to take those risks to get the rewards.
Yes.
I do remember a student in class who said he wouldn't show up to class if he had more than 3 injuries. That was his cutoff. So
No.
don't let, okay, you have one injury here, you know, you could just,
Yeah.
your arm's broke, you can still, you got 3 other limbs that you can do jujitsu with.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. Most of the injuries, there's a way for you to work around it, you
Mm-hmm.
know, around that. So, for example, oh, my wrist is killing me. So immobilize the wrist, use one hand and your other limbs, the whole part of your body in a controlled way, of course, nothing irresponsible. And same thing happens to pretty much almost every injury. Almost every injury, there's a way that we can make it work. I mean, just like spine injuries, there's nothing you can do when you have those. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's tough. And rib, like you said, believe it or not, like the rib sometimes is not, it's not even like super serious, but you can't move. So you cannot even sneeze. So
Yeah.
it's tough to do everything, right?
Yeah.
But most of the injuries you can, you know, you can work around that. You know,
Yeah.
you can make it. You can keep your training going in an intelligent way. You
Yeah.
know.
And a good thing is, you know, good communication with your training partners so that they know
Sure.
where maybe your
For
weaknesses
sure.
are so that you can be safe and you can train longer.
Yeah, and the level of confidence, you know that because you train there, not just in my gym, but the level of confidence of jiu-jitsu training partners has to be the biggest, one of the biggest of all, because you trusting pretty much your life to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
You trust, you know that if you tap, or if you say tap, or if you say you got me, it's over.
Yeah.
We start again. Nobody gets hurt. You know, you have to have that level of trust. uh, it's not like something like a psychopath or something that you will get you on something, not let go and break your arm or choke you
Yeah.
out or something. In jiu-jitsu, that's this bond that you trust the person, and the person has to trust you because you can be the one getting that,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And I think this is beautiful. I think like this is one of the reasons why I think a lot of people get their best friends in a jiu-jitsu academy. A lot of people. Myself, I mean, my best friends come from jiu-jitsu,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but I mean, easily, you know, more than college, more than school. The jiu-jitsu mats gave me my best friends.
Mm-hmm.
you know, and believe it or not, my best friends, me and them, for a while, we were like trying to kill each other. Of course, trusting each other, but we're
Right.
really competitive, really
Yeah.
extremely competitive. So
You're
that
challenging
level,
each other to be better in that
exactly,
competition.
exactly. But I had the trust that I
Mhm.
could leave my life on their hands.
Yeah.
They wouldn't do anything bad or hurt me intentionally, nothing.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't know, maybe that's why, because the level of trust that I have to have and then translates to friendships. I don't know.
Hmm. I think
I don't
so.
know how to explain, but
You
you know.
know, that's a really key point about jujitsu gyms is that they're not all the same. So you want to make sure that when you are maybe
Sure.
enrolling in a school that you talk to the professor like Draculino, see what type of culture they have, because I know Draculino has one of great respect and discipline, and people that aren't going to be that way, they can see the door.
Yeah, exactly. I believe also, Lisa, that I don't believe too much in bad students. I believe in bad instructors. Okay, a lot of instructors can make the environment very toxic because they are toxic people.
Hmm.
And believe it or not, like it's crazy. Like the head instructor of a school normally sets the tone on how the school is from top to bottom, from the
Hmm.
employees, from the students. You know, if you get somebody who is like a very cocky, arrogant, and selfish, everybody will be like that on the gym. Everybody. And whoever's not leaves, you know. And it's the same thing with us. We try to be polite, we try to be respectful, we try to be human with people the more we can. And then when you get people that want to try to change that culture, we kick them out, because I mean, what are you going to do? You're not going to let like something beautiful be spoiled by a couple of persons and actions, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. So in jujitsu, there's a belt system that people go through. It's you start off as a white belt, then you graduate to a blue belt, and then you graduate to a purple, brown, and then black.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about what it requires for black belt?
uh First of all, like, we take belts really seriously in our school. Like, we will not give a belt to somebody who's not ready or doesn't deserve. And also, like, every belt has a minimum time. You have to stay for a certain minimum time on the belts. I mean, the time is different depending on the belt, but pretty much, for you to get your black belt, you have to be, of course, you have to get all the other belts that you have. And then when you're brown, we have to be at least a year and a half, at least a
Mhm.
year and a half, as a brown belt. And then after that, that's the funny part. Like, it's very individual, the criteria, you know, that, like, it's not like some other martial arts that, oh, okay, you have to do these moves, 1 2 3, and you have to show me this and I have to show me that, and then you get your belt if you do it correctly. It's not like that. We take in consideration the whole reality of the person. I'm not going to give the same treatment to a businessman of like 60 years old that trains 3 times a week than I'll give to a kid, a 22-year-old kid that trains every single day, that smashes everybody. I have to treat them differently
Yeah.
in regards to belt. I have to. Otherwise, it's not fair, and it's not. There's no common sense. So with the time, like, we acquire experience enough to have the feeling, you know, for that. So minimum time is for everybody. Doesn't matter. It can be whoever. It can be the Pope, the UFC champion. Doesn't matter. Doesn't
Mhm.
matter who you are. Minimum time. After the minimum time, it's kind of like under the instructor's discretion, at least in our system. And for you to be a black belt, Lisa, that was the first question. It's not easy, as
Mhm.
you know. It's not very easy at all. It takes dedication, it takes discipline, it takes a lot of things.
You also
But
look
yeah,
at character and integrity.
that's what I was getting. I don't give a black belt to
Yeah.
somebody that I know is not a good person.
Mhm.
If I know for a fact that this person is not a good person, that's a bad person, that all these years of jiu-jitsu didn't change them enough, I'm not going to give them the black belt.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I take this very, very seriously. You know, like in Brazil, there's like a funny saying that people say, some jiu-jitsu instructors say, I rather sell my mother than give a fake black belt.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's kind of like an exaggeration, but some people say that in
Yeah.
Brazil. So in a point, I agree, because a black belt under you is the continuation of your legacy.
Yeah.
And having a black belt, I mean, sometimes you get wrong, please. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes some people they hide really well. You know,
They hide who
you
they
know,
are. Yeah.
some people you get to know them sometimes for years, and then when a certain situation happens, you know exactly who they are.
Yeah.
You know, and that can happen even after somebody gets a black belt. It can happen. It happened to me before. You know.
Yeah.
But at least we try for the best of our intentions, you know.
Yeah. How old were you when you got your black belt?
I was 23.
23. And you had been training since you were like 14?
14. Yes, yes. In
Wow.
in the past, it was I took a long time in my belts because I was always a strong competitor.
Mm.
And I remember that for the teams, it was very important to guarantee really tough people in all the divisions and all belts. So we, like competitors, always took longer than the regular person.
Mm-hmm.
Our teachers always left us like longer for us to keep winning and making the team uh, to fight for the overall titles on the biggest competitions and all that. And I was okay with that. I mean, I rather be one of those guys that takes longer than get the black belt before the time. You know what I mean? And with me, it was like that. And you know, I don't regret at all. And I don't have any. And it took a while, but it came on the time that needed to come.
Yeah. Speaking of competitions, there's
Mhm.
world and there's national competitions. Do you foresee in the future that jujitsu might evolve into the Olympics or anything like that?
That's the $1 million question, Lisa. I am not. Uh, I didn't have peace with myself yet with the idea of jiu-jitsu in the Olympics, because what I saw that happened to other martial arts styles after they made it as an Olympic sport, it wasn't very good for the martial side of that. You
Mm.
know, it turned into something that is sport only. That's it. High uh, high performance, and I'm okay with that. I was an athlete. I understand, but if your martial art turns only into that, I think there's a problem.
Mm.
You know, and because I think if you lose the martial art aspect of every martial art, it's complicated. You know, and I think that what I saw with other styles that kind of happened. You know, like. When they made the Olympic teams, I mean, the level grows exponentially because the Olympics are, you know, everybody wants to be an Olympic champion. But for Jiu-Jitsu, I think that will be better, in my humble opinion, to not make Jiu-Jitsu with the gi Olympic, because the gi is the tradition and everybody learns the self-defense. I would put grappling in the Olympics.
No.
Because if you call submission grappling, I think then the correct name would be submission grappling.
Mm-hmm.
So you can have people from not just from jiu-jitsu, from judo, from wrestling, from catch wrestling, from pancrase, from every other grappling grappling style, and then they put everybody together, kind of like it is with the ADCC World Championship. The ADCC World Championship is the biggest competition no gi. It happened since 1998. I competed once in there. It comes from Abu Dhabi, from the United Arab Emirates, and There's a prince, billionaire prince, a sheikh that pays for everything still this day. So it's kind of like the Olympic of grappling, the ADCC. And I think that would be perfect for an Olympic format. That I think it's perfect
Yeah.
because it's a sport that it will be, yes, only 100% for high performance, but doesn't matter because only athletes will jump on this thing. It's kind of like the UFC, for example, like mixed martial arts. Like the regular person would never jump on a cage, would never jump on a ring to fight. So that's okay. It's high performance. Who's the champion? Who's the best? But we don't need to worry about the whole thing because there's no martial art aspect on it. It's different. You know that's my point. So I may change my mind. I don't know, but for now, that's what I think.
So, where do you see yourself, Professor Draculino, in 20 years?
20 years. In 20 years, I'll be 70 years old because I'm turning 50 soon.
Oh, happy early birthday.
Thank you. And I see myself in 20 years being wiser, I will try my best to be super healthy, the best that I can, because without health, what's the point, right?
Yeah.
And I hope that I will be a little more, how can I say, a little less stressed out, because sometimes I tend to be stressed out because I'm so busy. I have, people from all over the world looking for me, and I have to solve problems for them, and I have my own problems. So sometimes I get, ugh. So I want to find the peace of mind. If it wasn't for jiu-jitsu, it would be crazy. Like I'm telling you right now. So I would find the peace of mind to be able to be more relaxed. So
Yeah.
I hope I can get there.
Will you still be doing jiu-jitsu, you think, at 70?
100%. I know
Teaching
for
it?
sure.
Will you
I
still?
know for sure. I'll do jiu-jitsu until the day I die. I know that for sure. While God gives me like the bare minimal health for me to do jiu-jitsu, I'll do it. You see like Grandmaster Carlos Gracie,
Yeah.
he died 97, and he was teaching class 1 month before he died on the mats with the gi. Can be done, and of course, do you think he never had a lot of injuries? Of course he had.
Did you know Helio?
Yes. Like he in reality, Helio, there are the two brothers, the two most important brothers of the Gracie family, Carlos and Helio. Carlos is the oldest, Helio is the youngest, but Helio was the one that fought more, and Carlos was kind of more the coach and more the visionary. My lineage of learning Gracie Jiu-Jitsu or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, whatever we call it, comes from the Carlos side. My master, Carlos Gracie Jr., is a son of Carlos Gracie.
Yes.
So even though it was the same family and jiu-jitsu pretty much the same, it was a little bit of a different philosophy, a little bit, And so, yeah, I got to know him. I actually was blessed when I was younger to win a competition, and he put the medal on my on my neck.
Oh, nice.
I remember that. I was probably 17 or something.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I have fond memories of him, and Master Carlos too. Master Carlos was always like very calm. He always gives you kind of like that peace of mind sensation. He's always like methodical, nice, calm. Elio was kind of more like me. He's kind of more like, like all over the place, and tough, and do this, and I'll do it, like more active, I would say. But yeah, I got the blessing to get to know him.
Oh, very cool. Interesting history that you definitely come from and have come to the States, and to share all of that with us. I think it's really awesome.
Thank you so much for the time. It was great.
Yes. Anything else you'd like to add that might be topic?
I would, pretty much just reinforce what you've been saying, which is good. if you think about doing something for yourself in order to achieve any of the elements that we talked about here, try a good jiu-jitsu academy. You know, like you said, try it out, talk to the instructor, feel the vibe, see how you feel, and then, you know, try to embark on this journey, because you know, it's going to be something that you're never going to forget for the rest of your life. I don't know if you're going to do it for the rest of your life, but you will never forget.
Absolutely. And you'll meet the coolest people. And that's what I found
Yeah,
at your gym. You
yeah,
have some
that's
really
yeah.
awesome students there.
You're right. You're right.
Okay. Well, thank you, Professor Draculino.
I'm not a doctor.
Professor Draculino. If you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment in the box below. And thank you again for watching. And thank you, Professor Draculino.
Thank you so much, Lisa.
Okay. Have a good day.